Where are you guys
So,
out of? Somewhere.
well, we've got people on the call from different cities. Um, most of us are out of Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
DeVell, can you hear me? You're muted. What? Hi, DeVell.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. What city
Okay.
are you out of?
I am in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm in a coffee shop because we have a networking event here
Okay.
right at 10.
Go ahead. You can mute me. Okay.
Okay, I just don't want all the noise for you
I
guys.
just wanted to say hello.
Hello,
Hi, Adam.
thanks.
Good morning. Okay. And we got Miles and we got Brock. Brock is shy. Didn't do his hair this morning. Okay. So, all right. So today we are super fortunate. As you can see, we have a new guest because our previous guest was eating a bagel and broke her tooth and is in the emergency dentist office, I guess, this morning. So she couldn't make it. She'll be here next week. And Richard Bigelow was very kind to step in. And I'm super excited to have Richard. He closed 23 million his first year, which is just huge for a rookie. And he is, we were just talking, he's out of a small town in Washington State that's between Tacoma and Seattle. So, Richard, I just have two questions for you. Tell us a little bit about your business, and then, you know, how did you do it? I mean, and really, how did you get the ball rolling?
Cool. So first, thanks for having me, guys. So I guess to start from the beginning, so to speak. So I came from the car business. So I have 12 years experience in the car business, which is a very competitive selling atmosphere, to put it, you know, a certain way, which, you know, so I obviously learned a lot of experience doing that. I decided to leave the car business mostly because it's retail hours and I got two little kids and I grew up in that business and I wanted to have a different life than having dinner at 9 p.m. every night and working every weekend and all of that good stuff. So I was always super interested in mortgages. I did finance in the car business for 8 years. So there's a lot of parallels in terms of, you know, loans. Obviously this is a whole different beast, but you know, being able to break down a pay stub and look at that sort of stuff certainly was a skill that, you know, I could transfer over. So I was fortunate in that regard that I felt like I could hit the ground running a little bit more than, you know, I did have a background in sales, in finance to a certain degree that allowed me to sort of, you know, pick up a lot of stuff. But ultimately, you know, the biggest thing I think that I would put towards any sort of success I had or momentum that I had is I saw an opportunity in COVID, essentially. And, you know, in 2020, everyone went indoors. Everything quickly became, you know, online, virtual, you know, take an app online, you know, and everyone forgot that business was done face-to-face forever. Like that's how business was done. And I saw it as an opportunity to, you know, reach out to basically my circle of people. So any realtor that I already knew, any of my friends who was their realtor, you know, make a soft introduction for me, let me take them out to lunch. The simplest, easiest way that I got, you know, lunches with a ton of realtors is basically just saying, hey, I'm brand new. I don't know what I'm doing. I heard you're successful. You know, you run a great business. I would love to just pick your brain and figure out what you think it takes to, you know, to be successful in this business. And I think that's
so, Richard, so, you know, your accomplishment was so huge. I want to really pick your brain about the mechanics of it. So, I mean, you just started calling top producing real estate agents saying, can I have some of your time because I'm new and I don't know anybody? There's got to be more to it than that.
No, it was definitely people that were, you know, a degree or two of separation away from me. So we had you know, it was either people that I already knew personally that were in the business, or it was like, you know, I called my best friend and I said, hey, who did you use when you bought your house? And I used so-and-so. So then I would have my best friend just send a message that says, hey, my friend is, just getting mortgages and wants to learn more, would you be interested in, reaching out to them? And obviously, if someone's client is, if you're a realtor and their client is reaching out to you and asking you a favor, it's pretty hard as a realtor to say no to that, right? Because then you'd be telling your client,
Right.
like, no,
Third party introduction.
Yeah. So a very, a soft, warm introduction, as opposed to, I've done door knocking in my life, and that's just, I'm more of a try and figure out a quality over quantity type of person, as opposed to calling 100 people and maybe getting 3 people to say yes. I'd rather talk to 10 people and have 7 of them say yes, but do the hard work to figure out who the 10 is, if that makes sense.
Did you have any regiment did you just get up and go, or did you have some sort of regiment as far as what agents you were going to call, or what goal it was to set up appointments or anything like that?
I mean, in terms of that, I definitely wanted, I wanted to have a lunch every day when I first started. I mean, I didn't have any business to do. So, I mean, I didn't get licensed until the very end of February of 2021. And then from there, I basically took over, and I reached out, like I said, to as many realtors. One thing that I did that I still will do, I certainly did a whole lot more in the beginning, is, taking, in terms of how I implemented it, so to speak, taking a realtor to lunch is great. But at the end of the day, it's a 30, 45 minute interaction and you're paying for lunch, right? The one thing that I did that I had a lot of success with building a relationship is when I, maybe after I did that initial coffee date or lunch or whatever, during that, I would ask about open houses.
Are they doing those in that area? Because, okay, is your market super hot?
Yeah, our market is pretty crazy right now. It's back to, it was kind of calmed down at the end of the year, but it's certainly back to being crazy. But we're Washington, so we're very liberal, I guess, when it comes to COVID policies and stuff and masking and everything. So it wasn't like super easy, to do open houses and that sort of stuff. So, but from my perspective, the market was hot. So, open houses were pretty busy once they kind of opened back up. They sort of opened back up right as I got in the business. So it was
how did you help them with the open house?
So again,
what was your role?
I was support, and that's how I sold it to them. As I just said, hey, you guys, this is your show. I'm just here to help. If you get, 3 couples that come in at the same time, I can help, and then basically I just became, junior real estate agent. And, I obviously had a little tiny thing, but I tried to make it more about them than anything about me. I was just there to help, from their perspective. I think as a listing agent, it's a really good value add to say, hey, I brought my lender to our open house. Like, we're doing whatever we can to, to make sure that if there's an opportunity to sell your house, we're there ready to, capitalize on it. And I actually had that idea because I sold my house probably a year before I got into the business. And the people that bought my house, the realtor and loan officer, were doing my open house. And the people came in on a whim. They were like having breakfast down the street from where I live, literally saw the open house sign on the street, came in, realtor, lender there already. They got pre-approved in my kitchen and bought my house. And, for me, that was sort of an eye-opening, that I don't think my house would have sold to that person if that wasn't set up that way, if they weren't ready to tackle that, because like most people, they go home, they think about it, they look at a different house, whatever it is, and, the juices stop flowing and they decide to, to move on or do something else.
Right. So definitely all the transactions are going a lot faster now with the hot market. They can't afford to take a couple days to think about it. They'll lose the house.
Exactly.
So
and I was just going to say, in terms of the open house, why I got so much value out of it is that, one, you take a real estate agent to lunch, you're supposed to just be their friend. You're not supposed to talk about business. You're supposed to just make a relationship with them, right? Build a relationship with them. A lot of it that I did is tell me about yourself, tell me about tell me about how you're successful, that type of stuff. But in the setting of an open house, it's a business setting, right? You guys are there to work. And so naturally you talk a whole lot more about, all of a sudden I started talking a whole lot more about what can I offer to
Yeah,
you.
they're a captured audience. They can't
Yeah.
say, I gotta go, I gotta run because
And
it's their
and
open house.
Right. And it's 3-4 hours and it's free. Like it's, and not only is it free, but you also have the potential to pick up client, right? I did, I think 2 loans last year off of sitting open houses, which I'll take, right? That's well worth it. But I went there with the intention that if I did 0 all year off of doing it, it's still worth its weight in gold, just because, of the relationship.
So still, Richard, the amount of business that you did was huge, because now, from what you're telling me, you really did it in 10 months. So, to do 23 million in your first 10 months, there's got to be another missing piece. So how did you get rolling? Like your first 3 deals, what were they about? What is your average loan amount?
I was 450 last year.
Okay, so you're a little bit higher than us. That's okay.
Okay.
So how did you get rolling like your first 3 deals?
So I definitely was very fortunate. When they brought me into the office, they did bring me in with, I was sort of like as a junior, where I worked under a senior LO. So I definitely had, a backstop there and he's fantastic. Ended up being, is one of my best friends now. And I was very, very fortunate in that regard and still am. But I think, to answer that question directly, 95% of this job is the lead. It's just getting the lead and being available for somebody. And then the way I like to coin it, and with my very little experience, is it's like 95% of it is get the lead, and then the rest of it is don't mess it up. And then, once you get it, as long as you, wow the client and do all that different stuff, I think that obviously the realtor, is more inclined to send you another lead. I don't feel like I did 18 million in the last 6 months. So I feel like it took me, obviously took me a few months to kind of get the ball rolling. But once it got, it just kind of snowballs, because I started getting clients calling me, saying, hey, I have a friend, you were awesome, that sort of stuff. In terms of, I feel like when I'm in the other side of this and I'm listening to people, I feel like a lot of times they don't give enough of like substance. It's more so like you just got to go out there and grind and do it, and like, they say like, hey, here's some of the tools. So in terms of some of the tools that I use, BombBomb. I don't know if you guys are familiar with BombBomb.
The video maker.
So every single intake phone call, I get a referral, I take a phone call, we have a 20-30 minute, I really try and talk them through the process. We're at Movement, where I work, we're certainly not a low cost provider when it comes to rate and that sort of stuff, so I oftentimes am fighting, trying to sell value over, that I'm just going to be the cheapest in town. But, so I have that first 20-30 minute phone call of trying to wow them with who I am, how I'm going to be there for them. I really tried to build with any agent that's referring to me that the idea that we are a team, that, just as much as, they're involved in your buying process, I'm going to be involved in your buying process. It's not just pre-approval, toss you back to the agent and say, call me when you're in contract or when you're about to make an offer. It's, hey, if you, and I think most people do this, but, hey, if you find a house that you like enough to go see, shoot it over to me. I'll work up exact numbers on that house. So, when you're sitting in the kitchen, how much exactly that payment's going to cost, and you can make a, informed decision. But in, BombBomb, so when I send a pre-approval link to somebody, it's always with a BombBomb video, right after we get off the phone, hey, I wanted to put a face to the name, introduce myself, thank you very much. The referring agent is always CC'd on that, so they can see the video, they can see that, it feels special. In my experience from the car business and seeing what, on any given dealership, you have 10-15 sales guys or persons, and 3 of them sell all the cars and the other 12 sell the other 10% of the cars, right?
Right,
And the
right,
mortgages is just like that, right? And
right.
so,
Just amazing you were able to get yourself in that top 10% so quick.
you know,
So, okay, yeah. So Bonbon's great. It's a video program. There's also some features we use top of mind as our CRM, and there is a video integration to that. I don't know exactly how it works, although I did see a demo last year. So it's something that we can investigate. I do like Bonbon. It's a way you send the video in an email, and then they get like the first 3 seconds, and then they click on it and see the rest of the video. So they don't get a huge 100 megabyte file.
right.
They just get a little file. So,
Right.
okay. So Daphne, you look like you're in disbelief. So what question do you have for Richard?
I don't really have any questions at this time. I'm trying to think. I mean, I think I like your strategy and the open house houses, and not really looking at it as like like it is an opportunity, but like not going in there with the perspective that like I need to find clients immediately. It's just going to happen organically. So, but yeah, no, I don't really have any questions.
Okay. Okay. Brock, I see you're there with Ocho Cinco. So I know you guys are excited about the playoffs. So any questions for Richard?
I have a question. So,
Okay, Lauren just jumped in front of you, Brock. So
oh, I'm sorry.
we're gonna come back to you. No, go Lauren, go. You're hot. Go.
Okay, so you mentioned that when you were originally trying to get meetings with realtors and stuff like that, like kind of taking the approach of, hey, like I'm new, I don't really know anything, like tell me about you. But how do you change from like that approach of I don't really know anything to actually I know some stuff and you should trust me with your clients?
Great question. So I actually sent a text at 9 p.m. last night to a friend of mine that owns a real estate office that is basically told me when I started that, hey, go get some experience and then come call me. Like he owns a big brokerage firm and I haven't been able to crack that yet. And I actually sent him a text last night and said, hey, I had a great first year, had a lot of success, but now it's time for me to build a business. And, you own and operate a business. And I think that you would be a great person to sit down with and talk about building a business. So it's the same framework. I just slightly tweaked it a little bit, to compensate for the fact that now I do maybe know a little bit of what I'm talking about. And I guess you have to decide what kind of an LO you want to be. I think that there are, and I struggle with, I think there's not enough information out there. You see these big, massive mortgage teams that do 100, 200, 300 million. Like I was watching something with the mortgage nerd. I don't know if you know who she is, out of Texas, and Dan Keller's team. And, I've watched a lot of this stuff and it's all really good content, but they never tell you like, how do you go from 10, 20 million to make that leap to the 40, 50 million? Is it build a team out? Is it just keep grinding? Is it like, and I think that's the hard part of that leap that I'm trying to make. And I think it starts with, building a business and a brand. And that's what my goal for this year is to actually, build a business that is associated with the brand and that sort of stuff. But I think the hard part about that for me that I'm struggling with is why I had success is because I was hands-on involved. I'm willing to pick up the phone at 10 p.m. nights, weekends. Like it doesn't bother me. Again, from my experience in the car business, I worked 50, 60 hours in the store. And then if my phone rang at 10 p.m., I still had to pick it up. So for me, I'm blessed in the sense that I get to work banker's hours now. I get weekends off. And if all that means is I still have to pick my phone up on the weekend or the nights, like I'm great. I'm fantastic. That feels great. I can open up my laptop and work numbers for someone sitting on my couch. Like that's just a totally different world for me. And I'm still very blessed to have that.
Right. No matter how easy you make it sound, I know that behind that business was a lot of work and a lot of grind and a lot of calls. I mean, you just don't do that much business in 6 months without it. So any other questions, Nitty or Brock,
Yeah, I'll
DeVell
ask.
has a
Yeah, I've got
question.
one question.
Wait, who said that?
I've got one question, Brock.
Oh, go ahead, Brock.
So, I know you're talking about how, you may not be the cheapest, in your area. What's the one thing that stands out the most that you tell people like, hey, I may not be the cheapest, however, what's like your go-to thing to help them understand
Unique
that there's
selling
more?
proposition.
Yeah,
So I think it depends. One thing that I've learned is if I get shopped or, I don't have control over the client or, whatever, however you want to say that, it's almost always because I didn't or I wasn't able to take them through my whole process, my 20-30 minute intake phone call, my bomb video, after bomb, and then I get the app. I do a mortgage coach presentation for everybody that is, different. I try and keep that mortgage coach presentation general in the sense of, here's your price range, here's a general payment at 350, 400, 450, here's different down payment options. Most people ask about interest rate just because they don't know what else to ask. And so, if I'm able to get them in my process that I feel like is good for me and actually take them through that, I almost never get shocked. Right now, if I get a phone call at Friday night at 8 p.m. and the agent's like, hey, I got this buyer, but they're pre-approved with Rocket Mortgage and they want to make an offer. So can you get them pre-approved right now? And I just have to quickly take an app and try and put together a pre-approval, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be having a conversation with that person on Monday of, how come your rate's higher or whatever. And, I think you're just, you're flipping a coin whether or not you're going to get that person. So, and then, in the mortgage coach presentation, if you're able to take them through that or whatever your process is, I think it's really easy to have a conversation around rate that without saying, hey, this is my rate, because we all know that if I'm start the process now, it might be a month or two before I'm talking about locking a rate in. So me selling, go ahead.
I'm going to say, well, I'm going to repeat what you said that really hit home for me, especially like yesterday, is if you don't push your system or your file flow or customer flow, you lessen your chances of getting that loan tremendously. So I have a realtor referral from a good agent, but the borrower is so busy, all we're doing is exchanging text messages and there's just no rapport. And he just texted me that he found a lower rate somewhere else. Well, he doesn't know me. So how can I say, well, why take the risk when you know how great we are? I haven't even been able to have a conversation with him. So that is so true, Richard. Anybody else who jumped in? DeVell, you had a question?
Oh,
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I'm sorry. I can't hear you. We'll come back. Just keep talking, and if you come on, we'll jump over. Adam, anything?
So my question is, how many of those 51 loans that you did were in your circle of friends? How much of that business came from your friends or your circle of influence?
Versus realtor referral?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know that exact number, but I think that the realtor referral is probably 80-90%. Now,
Okay.
The realtor referral is like, I have a mother-daughter team that I connected with really early, and I got very lucky that they do a lot of business, and they didn't have someone that they loved, and they latched onto me right away. And we, just took them out to a big fancy dinner because we did 10 loans together last year.
Nice.
Obviously, a big deal, for me. And, but I knew them because she sold my mom a house. So in terms of, that's how my mom made that connection for me. And then I sort of just took over from there, and so that's sort of in my circle, I guess, is how I'm answering that.
Right. So at first it's all business, but then eventually your good agents become friends. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and that's kind of when the magic happens, and that's where you really have that I got your back, you got mine, and the relationship is really fruitful. All right, anybody else have anything to add? I want to be respectful of Richard's time. He was so generous with us this morning.
I'm totally good. Whatever you guys got, I'm here for you. So no problem.
Okay, Richard. Well, thank you so much. I mean, what you've accomplished in such a short amount of time is amazing. Just keep going. You told us a little bit about your goals, and you know, I just see that happening for you 100%. Your business is going to snowball. We're going to talk to you next year. You're going to have this huge team doing $100 million
I
and
sure hope so.
taking over the whole. How far are you from putrid sound? Puted? What do you say? How do you say?
Puget Sound. So
Puget
I
sound.
mean, depending on which part of it you hit, probably 10, 15 minutes away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Richard. Well, have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.
And no problem. Thank you. And you guys are welcome to reach out to me if you have any other questions or anything like that. I would love to help. So thank you very
Okay,
much. See you guys.
I'll put
Thank you.
Richard's email in the notes.
All right.
Thank
see
you,
later.
Richard. Bye-bye. So, pretty amazing. I am going to try and share my screen, and we will see how this works. Can you see my screen? Somebody say something. Can you see it?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yes.
Okay, I want you to watch this video. Some of you have seen it before, but it hits on a lot of issues. Tell somebody right when it starts, somebody tell me if you can hear the sound. Okay, and it just, okay, here we are.
Yes, you can hear it.
Okay, here we go. It's only 2 minutes.
Business review called Connectability. It states they did a lot of research on and what they found is that the two most important traits of top leaders and salespeople are influence and frequency. But the order matters. I'm going to share a quick little story with you. My husband decided to trade me with a wonderful takes one look at my husband and says, people decide what they think of your message and decide what they think of you.
So, okay. So I don't know what I'm doing here with this, with the screen, but Whoops. So, okay, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, now it just disappeared and now we're kind of back. Okay. So anyway, oh, here you are. Here it is. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm learning as I'm going. Okay, so we're back to what looks like normal to me. So, okay. So what do you think about that video? It was very powerful and it delivers the message exactly that I've been trying to convey, although she did a better job than I did. So how many of us have had realtor meetings? All of us. Okay, but how many of us have done like some research behind the scenes so we can look up their production using that mortgage intelligence program? And if you don't have it, your manager has it. And also, you know, LinkedIn tells us about their career flow, and you know, we can just Google them. Like what do they call that? Cyber stalking, but we do it for positive reasons. So, how many people are doing that with both customers and agents? Before you get on the phone, you spend 90 seconds. Brock, Adam, Lauren, sometimes. Nitty, ever?
Sometimes.
Okay. So, and Adam and Brock, you jumped in first. Have you found, and DeVell gave me a hands up. Okay. Adam, do you find that sometimes you see something and can make a connection?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I do look for is mutual connections that I have, friends in common, because that's an immediate talking point. Yeah, makes it really easy. Or
yeah, hey, how do you know Frank? Oh, we used to work together. Oh, we used to work together too. Okay, so yeah. What about you, Brock? Do you find that to be useful?
Yeah, mutual is a big one, but also like where they went to college, that sometimes strikes a common thing, or their hometown. That's always good things to bring up. People love to talk about those things. So easy icebreaker.
Yeah, right. So this may be a secret to several of you, but I went to the University of Georgia, you know, the national champions. Anyway, so I always look and see if they went to an SEC school. There's about, what is there, 14 of them, 12 or 14 now. So, you know, and then you can always rib them about sports or something like that if they went to Auburn or South Carolina or God forbid Alabama. Anyway, so that's always a connection, especially with guys like sports. So, but yeah, various companies or the people that you're connected to, you know, all those things. And the thing is that if you can make a connection in the first minute and a half, then it's like, I like you. And then, you know, I'm just more accepting of everything you say. You know, rates have really gone up. Okay, well, whatever you think is best, you know, and it goes from there. It's an easier sell. So let's do that. Let's research people before we talk to them, both customers and agents. It only takes a minute. Okay, so let's talk about our scorecards. Who's doing the I know DeVell is brand new. Who's keeping track of their prospecting scorecard? Okay, Lauren, so how's it going? How many days in the last 4 days this week, how many of you are hitting the 60 points?
I hit it for 3 out of the 4.
Okay.
So an improvement.
Yes. And what, can you give me a category that you're really loading up the points?
I'm trying to hit the handwritten notes.
Okay.
And I'm trying to make sure that I'm consistent with social media and posting on that. And then really it's about just either trying to get somebody on the phone or an email, a text message, I'll take it, but I get more points for a phone call. So, you know, I'm trying on that end. So,
right. And in your social media, I see is a good mix. You have a lot of personal stuff and then also some business stuff. So what kind of, you know, reactions do you get to the personal stuff that you post?
oh my God, my personal stuff gets hundreds of likes and tons of comments. So, and then the you know, the work stuff gets a couple of likes and not as many comments, but you know, it'll get there.
it's like trying to give your puppy a medicine, and you have to mix it with the ice cream, right? So that they,
Yes.
and then you look, and then somehow the pill is still in the bowl, you know. Anyway, but yeah. So and Daphne, so tell us, how are you doing on the scorecard?
So I hit 60 one day, but I got really close within 5 points 2 other days. So I'm
Okay.
counting those as wins as well.
But if you're within 5 points, you can just write somebody a note card. Boom. That's
right.
like 90 seconds.
Yeah. So I am doing a lot with social media. I'm still doing my 5 calls to like random people, like cold calls. Not really seeing a lot of improvement with that, but you never know what can happen. And then I went to an event, and then I had like a face-to-face with an agent earlier this week.
Was the event any good? What kind of event was it?
It was just like a networking event. It was all right. They're always just all right. But yeah, no, yeah, it was a successful week.
So Nidhi, how are you doing on your scorecard? You know I was going to ask you.
Yeah, mine 3 days 60, 1 day 50, and today I'm not sure how much I'll score, but I'm doing a lot of cold calling.
Okay. How is that going?
Not at all good. Like they'll just pick up the phone and I'll be like, hi, I just wanted to introduce myself to you. And they'll be like, no, we are already working with the lender. I'm like, yeah, I know you have a preferred lender, but just wanted to, tell you that I'm here in case any of your clients need any help, and let me, boom, phone is down. And I'm like, okay, that's fine.
So sometimes that happens if you, so you have to kind of think of your approach and the script that you're using. And, let's talk about that a little bit offline. And I'm happy to role play with you a little bit. And, that may help improve. But yeah, I mean, random calls are just very difficult to make a connection. But it only takes a few connections. All right, I see Ocho Cinco over there is dying to get in the screen.
Dude, it's T. Higgins from the SEC, Clemson, who beat your Georgia Bulldogs a few years ago. So anyway.
Oh, that's not a Cincinnati Bengal?
No, it is, but he's now a better player than Ocho Cinco's ever been.
Okay.
Anyway,
okay.
I wanted to help the person that was just talking. How do you say your first name? Not you, Katz.
Nidhi.
Yeah. So one of the things I've learned by calling agents randomly out of the blue, they don't know who you are, is ask them if they're open to start receiving referrals, and then research where they do most of their business.
Okay.
So for example, most agents will tell you, I'll do anywhere, anytime, any place.
Right.
However, if you peel back the onion and you say, hey, can you drive to South Atlanta when you're in the north, they won't do it. So you're kind of wasting a referral. So you want to pin them down and get their target market. So coming at them and asking them, hey, where do you receive most of your referrals from? Neighborhood, community, whatever. And then say, okay, I now have you on my list. If I get a buyer that is in that neighborhood, I will try to introduce you to them.
Okay.
And then ask them if you can follow up with them on a weekly or monthly basis, just to see if they have any new listings they want to promote or anything that you can help them with in social media. And then you can start asking them if they want the marketing piece as well.
Okay,
So
sure.
Coming
So
at them that way.
You lead with something of value.
Correct.
Excellent. Now, get off the call. Scoot over. Thank you, though. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else that I'll send you a copy of that scorecard, Devel, so you can play with it if you want to. Adam, is that anything that you looked at or delved into?
Phone call?
So, well, let me rephrase the question. Adam, do you have any stories, either successes or failures, about your prospecting?
Not this week. I had two new files started, which
Okay.
was great. One was a previous one that we've been waiting on his credit to come up, and he got there, so we got him pre-approved, and now I can start looking. Just dealing with a difficult title agency. That's all we're dealing with right now.
Okay, so moving right along. So the Jordan Harbinger Mark 6-minute networking this week was on building rapport and conversation. Daphne, did you get a chance to look at that?
I did.
So tell me about what he was talking about.
So he was talking about like you want to have like facts and emotion and a why. And then he was talking about like you can ask people like what they do for work and like what their favorite thing about work like their job is. Like so it's like it leads with a fact and then an emotion, and then ask them like why is that your favorite thing. He went into some story about something about his grandparents' house or something, but I can't really remember what it was, but yeah.
Correct. So he uses the acronym FEW: facts, emotions, and why. So Lauren, I'm going to push you a little farther. So do it with me now. It'll just take a minute. So ask me 3 questions.
Okay. So what do you do for a living?
I'm a mortgage banker.
Well, that's exciting. How long have you been in that business?
29 years.
Wow, that's cool. So what do you like the most about being in the mortgage business?
You know, I like helping people. I like to see their face when they get the keys at the closing table. And it's just, you know, it's a real satisfying job for me.
Helping people is great. That's awesome.
Okay. And then, so you kind of asked me 2 of the first one, which were facts. Then you asked me an awesome emotion question. And then, you know, the why is a little tough because you can't really say, well, you know, why is that important to you or something like that. But
Right.
You can kind of, so the idea is to then dig a little bit deeper. Jordan says it's a lot better than me. You know, and
Could you ask something like, well, did you have somebody who helped you buy your house that made an impression on you and, you know, made you want to help people that way?
That is an excellent question.
Okay.
So, I don't really have a special situation about when I bought my first home, but you know, I've always been in sales, and I like this because it really gives me a lot of interaction with the customer, which I like. So yeah, so you really came up with a good kind of end around on that why question, right? So you have to avoid if it's something like super obvious, you know, like, you know, why do you like rescuing puppies? I mean, you can be like, you know. So, but Nitty, did you kind of get the gist of it? Where you ask a, you know, real easy factual question, you know, how long have you been a real estate agent? But then the next one is a little bit more emotional. You know, well, what drew you to the business?
Right.
Okay. Okay. So we are off to 10 questions. And the first question is so super easy because we just did it. What does FEW stand for? FEW that Jordan Harbinger talked about.
Emotion and why.
Facts, emotions, and why. Okay, so in a general sense, you don't have to tell me exactly, but Adam or anybody, how is APR calculated? Why do we have APR? What the heck does that mean?
Annual percentage rate?
Okay, that's what the acronym
Yeah.
stands for. So does anybody know what the APR is or why or anything?
Yeah.
Hey,
I mean,
you
my
know what?
understanding.
You know what?
My-
Hold on, Brock. I'm going to ask
Okay.
Miles. Miles is studying to pass the licensing test. Miles, tell us what APR
Nice.
means. Does your mic work?
Yep, sorry. So APR, it's the interest rate that somebody is charged on the annual basis for the loan amount, right?
Okay, what's the difference between the note rate and the APR rate?
That I don't know.
Okay, so the APR is a rate that uses a formula that the government came up with that tried to combine all the cost of a loan into one number. So they're basically saying if you get a $100,000 loan and it has $3,000 in closing costs, you're really only getting $97,000 when it's all said and done. So we'll take your rate of 4%, but if you put that payment on 97,000 instead of the 100,000, then your effective rate is 4.1. So the APR is 4.1. So it was supposed to be a tool so that rate shoppers and consumers could compare different programs and lenders by APR, boil it down to one number. It doesn't work for various reasons. Number one is the more discount points you pay, the lower the APR becomes. So you could have a terrible loan that costs thousands and thousands of dollars, and it'll look like it's the best deal on the table. The other thing is if you do any adjustable rate mortgages, then it totally goes out the window because of the formula doesn't work. And you really, if you're shopping for a loan, you got to have two numbers. You got to have the rate and you got to have the cost. And it's really, really difficult to boil that down into one number. But it is the law. So whenever you advertise, you have to use an APR. And to come up with an APR, you have to have a loan scenario. So that's why we kind of have a policy of don't advertise rates, because you'll have to put all of these disclosures at the bottom that the APR is based on a loan of 250 and 80% loan to value with 740 credit score, blah, 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 so that somebody could actually figure the APR, which they would never do. But that's what APR is. We have to live with it. Any other questions about APR? Okay. So who released the 1977 best-selling album Bat Out of Hell? Come on. Come on, I'm not the oldest person here.
AC/DC.
No, Joyce, it was not AC/DC.
Really?
Really? Okay, so it was Meatloaf.
I was gonna say that because he just.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And he
right.
just-
He was a one and done.
He
Pretty
just passed away yesterday. So anyway, it brought up some memories because even though I was very, very young, I still remember back in 1977. Okay. So Nitty, why is inflation bad for interest rates?
That's a very tricky question, which I have been thinking for last few days. Every time the buyer is calling me, asking me, Niti, why are the rates going up? Inflation is high, the rates are high. The housing industry is a mess right now. Why is inflation bad? Because
All right, somebody help Nitty. Somebody help Nitty.
Dollar's not worth as much.
Okay, I like that. I like your thinking. So say a little bit more. So explain that.
So the same loan is at the end of the day is costing you more if your dollar is not as valuable. So the interest rate goes higher, you're going to pay more over the term of the loan. That's kind of the way I look at it.
Kind of, sort of. Anybody else have any input into that? So, okay. So we're making a 30-year commitment, right? You get a 30-year mortgage at 4%. We're guaranteeing that rate for 30 years. That's a long time.
Right.
Okay. And you're paying us dollars that are worth $1 today. But if we think, so it's all about what we think is going to happen in the future. And if we think that there's going to be high inflation, because we've already baked in standard norms of inflation and cost and everything when you get those rates. So if inflation's going to be high, then the dollars you're going to pay us a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years are going to be worth less. So how do we make up that money of what we think we're going to get less in the future? We just charge you a higher interest rate right from the get-go. So inflation is the enemy of rates. It's almost a direct formula in the fact that you take the cost of the loan, you add the inflation rate to it, and that's your interest rate. So, so it's all about us thinking that in fact, the reason we had the highest inflation, what figures in 30 years or something. So you wonder why rates didn't go like 8 to 8%, right? But because we're thinking about like the whole 30-year period and what's going to happen, and we know it's not going to be that radical a change, you know, but our thinking is, hey, you know, inflation is heating up, so time to push rates up a little bit higher. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Those are like the cliff notes that I need from an MBS highway video.
Oh, so Barry Habib will explain that much better than me in much more detail. But the thing is,
that actually,
and the public doesn't really know exactly how it works, except most people, if you were just to stop people on the street and ask them, hey, is inflation good or bad? They'll say it's bad. Okay. So you can kind of use that when you talk to people, where you're talking to them Thursday and the rate's 3.5, and you know, next Monday it's at 3.75, and they're like, what the hell happened? I just talked to you. You know, you can say, well, I don't know if you watch the news, but inflation is super high and it's pushing rates up, and they'll kind of, you know, which is absolutely true. And it will kind of give you some credibility instead of just saying, well, the market's volatile, you should have locked in. So anyway, okay. So, you know, people are posting online that, well, you know, if you've been in the business more than 2 or 3 years, you know, rates were higher back then, so quit your complaining. But so I really don't care what interest rates are. I care that our rates are competitive with the market, but if we're all at 5%, we're all at 5%, you know? What I don't like and can do nothing about is the volatility. I don't like disappointing people, so I don't like when I talk to them, like I said, on Thursday, and I'm quoting a rate that I can't honor on Monday, then I'm uncomfortable. So I'm uncomfortable with the volatility. I'm not uncomfortable. Raising rates does not really scare me because they're raised for everybody. Okay, so tell me about, did you know Van Dyke has a float down policy? What happens if you lock somebody in and the rates just drop tremendously, whatever, you know, North Korea sent off another missile or something like that. So does anybody know our company policy? Have you ever floated down?
No.
no, I didn't even knew that we have this policy that we can float.
I've
So
only
if
done it once.
Oh, you done it once. Okay. So if rates drop a quarter or more, then this is my understanding. I mean, a little bit is left up to just basically what you can negotiate with secondary, but I think by the book. So let's say that you, you know, let's just say that you locked in a rate 4% and it was at par, and then rates dropped to what you would punch in the system 3.75 at par. They're going to give you 3.75 costing 0.5 point. So I think that you get the current rate plus 0.5 discount point. And of course, then you could just settle on 3.875. So you could float them down an eighth. And then, you know, your borrower gets a little bit better deal. And then, you know, we meet them halfway and they're usually happy with that. They're not going to pull the loan. But yeah, so if you see that the rates have dropped a quarter or more, there's no problem with just contacting secondary and see what you can float down to. Always call them before you make a promise to the borrower on what you can do, because, you know, sometimes they'll do a little more. You just have to talk to them. Okay. So, but the main thing is just know that we do have a float down policy. And there's also some rules about, you know, how long is left on the lock, and the loan has to be out of underwriting, and that sort of thing. Okay, so what is the best day to lock in your loan?
The day you get the contract.
Today is the best day. Today is always the best day. Do not float these locks. The market is so super crazy. If you're in a bind and you like can't send secondary an email that says, I'm trying to lock in the Jones file and I can't get to the office until 6 o'clock, and 99% of the time they're going to cover you if there's a rate change or anything like that. But yeah, this is not the market to float loans, in my opinion. Okay. What is the highest back ratio that DU and LP will take on a conventional loan? DeVal, are you still muted? I still can't hear you. Sorry. Lauren.
49.9?
For what? Both? Either? What?
The back.
That's so.
Oh, yeah, for DU.
50, DeVal says. So
I'd say 50. I feel like you told us one time it was 50.5 or something.
Okay, so you're both right. So DU is going to be 49.9, and then LP gives you another 0.5%. It's 50.5. It may be 50.49, but so LP gives you another 0.5% if you have a near miss. Okay, so there are 3 borrowers on the loan. Whose credit do you use?
All of them.
Okay, what credit score do you use?
The lowest of the middle.
All 3.
So you take the middle score from all 3 and then you use the lowest of that one.
That is absolutely correct. Okay, so our guest, Richard, talked about getting appointments with agents using third-party introduction. So tell me the mechanics of how that would work. Daphne, how would that work to get third-party introduction?
So a couple weeks ago, I met up with like my old boss from one of my old jobs, and he had just sold his house and bought a new house. And he actually did a third-party introduction for me and the real estate agent. However, the real estate agent has been very busy and unable to meet with me, but that was a third-party referral.
So he sent the agent an email or something?
Yeah, they went to dinner and then they talked about me, and it was so he talked about me and she reached out to me, and yeah, that's how it all worked out. But I haven't actually met with her yet.
Well, that is a good example. So a little bit simpler is you find somebody who's recently bought a house, and you know, sometimes they feel a little bit guilty. They're like, oh, I didn't use you, I didn't know you were in the business. That's fine. So you say, well, how was your experience with the agent? It was good. Do you mind emailing the agent and copy you on it, so that you know, and say, you know, a terrific mortgage person and you'd like them to talk to me. And so when the agent gets that and it says, you know, just that, and then it's copied, she sees that, you know, Nitty is copied on it, and then Nitty follows up and says, hey, do you have time for coffee? Then it's really, so what they're having to do, since they wouldn't mind disrespecting you, Nitty, because they don't know you and have that personality, they don't want to disrespect the client that they just sold a house and may get referrals in the future. So they'll begrudgingly meet with you, and then it gives you an opportunity to win them over that you would never have. This is very, very powerful, and it was one of the lessons in Jordan Harbinger, but I just wanted to I just wanted to reiterate that fact. Okay, and the last question in that video that I thought was really powerful, the woman said that you lead with this. What was it? In the book?
Empathy.
Empathy.
Empathy, exactly right. So if you can, empathy is considering how the other person is feeling. It's also what we study on the book club about having high EQ. If you can do that and you can lead with that, then they have open ears to all the other things that you have to say. Okay, well, that is the call. Any questions? Keep working on those scorecards. I want all 60 points. You're getting closer. You're getting closer. I'm telling you guys, this will pay off. All 60 points next week. Okay?
Awesome.
Thank you guys. Talk to you later.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.